As we try to show you those 7 steps that you need to go through as you get to the polling booth, the polling unit, the inner cordon, and then right up to when you actually do your voting. We'll try to show you that as much as possible to avoid multi-thumb printing, as they call it, and voided votes, etc., etc. But of course, our focus is the governorship election and the State House of Assembly elections, the FCT area councils, and the supplementary elections. So quite a number of polling booths and a lot of voting to go through. We've since been joined by a transformational leadership expert, Mr. Olumide Olugbenle. Thanks a lot for joining us. And when I saw transformational leadership expert, how is that going?
I must say it's not very encouraging. But then, if you're involved with transformation, you must realize that it's a long shot, and you don't give up. You keep going at it. It may not happen in our lifetime, but for sure, this generation, my generation, must lay the foundation for a new Nigeria. It's the call we must obey. If we don't do it now, I really fear. I fear because whatever our children are seeing us do right now, they will do in excess, in far excess. And we are told that we are actually just one generation away from being a barbaric generation. So it's our generation that has what it takes to redeem the entire nation from total collapse. Is this from what you saw at the presidential election? Is this what is giving you this This is not just the presidential election. This is something that has been ongoing for a while. And the presidential election now makes it actually a lot more, what is the word here now, much more scary.
Listening to him there talking about the state becoming a flashpoint of political activity, 10,000 policemen, air surveillance to be handled by the Air Force, and then military deployment as well. It's surprising we're talking about an election here, isn't it?
You see, when he started out, he talked about the big five. Yes, the big five. When you're talking big five in tourism or in the environment issues, you're talking about animals. I mean, big five animals that are either being threatened or being protected and all of that. But he's talking about the big five political players in Imo State. Now, I wrote down something. Their antecedents, their supporters clashing, and their ideology. If this big five have been there all this while, no names called there, and they've been doing all that they're doing, apparently it's affecting the state, the mood of the electorate negatively, for there to be a deployment of 10,000 policemen plus air surveillance. And the words he used, the police PRO used was what? Air surveillance, they'll be sending information to the ground troops. That sounds like, I mean, are we at war?
Exactly, and he talked about fear and apprehension. Mr. Olugbenle, how do you see it, I mean, with this level of preparation for one state?
Imo State, from what I've reviewed so far, has always had upsets during elections. I think it's just this last administration that was able to come back for the second term. So people are actually agitating for a complete upturn from whatever it had been in time past. Now, are we at war? That's the question you asked. It will appear so. If I look at Nigeria right now, the best way I could describe what we have is there was a movie that was we watched when we were pretty young, titled The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. If you look at Nigeria, you have the good. In other words, what should governance be about? And are we doing that? That's the good. We have the bad. What should we be doing and we are not doing? And we have the ugly. What shouldn't we be doing and we are doing? So let me look. So right now, a number of people are looking at the good. A number of people are looking at the bad. But insofar as the ugly is there, what we shouldn't be doing and we're doing is going to erode and overshadow whatever good we have done. Therefore, the level of governance that we have seen, it's nothing transformational. Because if at this stage in the 21st century, we are still deploying 10,000 policemen with air surveillance, and we are using all manner of language, no, it's just not.
But you know, he said 10,000 policemen. We don't know how many of the other paramilitary agencies are going to be there. So the numbers are likely going to be higher. But if you look at that, from what he said, And then what happened in Lagos? I mean, that amateur video clip that was in circulation where one policeman was chasing some 5 or 6 thugs that were upturning an election there. How do you think this policeman should be motivated? Because the words he used, he says, the policemen have been trained and motivated.
And they are ready.
And they are ready. Picture that one policeman chasing 5 thugs, and then weighed against this. Are they really trained? Are they really motivated and ready?
Okay, I mean, let's give it to them. They are trained, they are motivated. But what you and I know about policing is about intelligence. There is always intelligence behind any system. Now, my memory may not be that strong, but for the first time that I can remember, we are actually burning ballots and ballot boxes. I'm not sure we've ever had burning. We've had snatching, but not burning. And then you would notice that the burning didn't happen in just one situation. It happened in several. That tells me there is some intelligence behind all of this. There's somebody somewhere that is giving out these instructions. So if you want these policemen to actually do what they have to do, they must also have that confidence that whoever is behind this, whoever has been thinking and sending out these signals, has been checkmated.
Yeah, but you know, in the run-up to the presidential election, there was so much talk about deployment and the military's role and what they should and shouldn't do. And then we had Okota in Lagos, we had Ebonyi in Rivers, and places like that. So how do people feel confident to come out if, in spite of the assurances, this is happening in broad daylight? It's not happening at night or something like that.
Okay, now I will divide it into two. The regular Nigerian will probably just stay back home. Okay? Now, for areas where there are no issues, okay, we go out. But let's talk about the flashpoints. The regular Nigerian will probably stay home. Is like, I mean, it's not worth anything. And I probably would counsel, if you are not too sure about your safety, probably just stay back. However, the daring and the bold should come out. And in coming out, we shouldn't come out in singles and in tens. We should all, as many of us as can come out. I mean, how many are they going to have to deal with?
Yeah, but what of the argument of staying back? Some people say staying back causes problems because you are now all there waiting for a particular expectation. It doesn't happen and the trouble starts. Others say, don't stay back, perhaps you go home, but you're not worrying about your vote. So what do they do?
In areas where we suspect that there's likely to be some form of interference by the powers that be in that locale, I would say the people should stay back and stay back in their numbers.
But this matter of burning of ballot papers and all of that speaks of desperation. Why do you think there's that level of desperation in the political space now?
Now, the biggest economic player in this polity is still government. I said something to 2 or 3 groups 4 or 5 years ago, and when they didn't buy into it, I just kind of let it ride that maybe I wasn't too detailed in my thinking. I said to them, if you took out corruption from Nigeria, 7 out of every elite home will go hungry. 7 out of every 10. That's not scientific, that's just me. Now, why do I say so? The lady who does makeup for $500,000, yes, the person who paid her, she's doing genuine business, but the ability to pay that kind of money somewhere down the line is corruption. The guy who rents out a house for 5 million, 10 million, or the guy who sells a house for 70 million, somewhere down the line there's a bit of corrupt money. So you find out that now all of a sudden that corruption is as it were, is being attacked, or we're coming against it. You can see a lot of tightening and a lot of adjustment and pain going on out there. So there is desperation right now because that's the only source of revenue for a lot of people. So it's going to be a do or die affair.
Now, we've been talking about preparations for tomorrow in different states. Let's see what's happening in Edo State. And ahead of the March the 9th governorship and state assembly election, the Edo State Police Command and sister agencies say they are prepared and are guaranteeing the safety of lives and property during the polls. Now, the State Public Relations Officer Chidi Nwabufo, speaking at a show of force today, said the security outfit for the election has been deployed by men and materials to cover the length and breadth of the state, while also sounding a clear warning to troubleshooters to stay away from trouble during the election. So staying away from trouble is the name of the game. We've seen that in Imo, we've seen that here in Edo State as well. Now, let me just ask someone to join the conversation now. Over there in Abuja, I have a lecturer from Bayes University, Dr. Abiodun Aderi. Thanks a lot for joining us on the show. Let me just move straight on and ask you, we've seen the deployment of materials, the commencement and the continuation of deployment of materials in Edo, Anambra, Kogi, Zamfara, and of course other states as well. Do you think logistics will not be a challenge tomorrow? What do you think?
Thanks, Ijoma, for having me on, and good afternoon, viewers. If I heard you correctly, Ijoma, you're asking if INEC is looking ready with the deployment of materials, right?
That's right. Continue.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, it's very exciting to see the level of preparations we are having now. It's really heartening, really a pleasure to see that we are making progress, and all hopes seem to be very high that there are not going to be any hiccups. There are no chances for postponement, whether on a general scale or even in some particular states. You know, reports that we've been seeing in the media, like in yours, for instance, you know, have taken us around the country. And from what we've seen, really, it's commendable that preparations are on. Everything is frenetic. And at the end of the day, we expect to see a very successful governorship election coming on the heels of the presidential. Okay, it's all right that the presidential has been done and dusted, even if there are legal fireworks still on. And it's also okay that the governorship election is proceeding as scheduled. What it means is that at the end of the day, we should be able to beat our chest and say that, yes, we have achieved another milestone in the development of our democracy. And I do not see any reason for now why there should be any hiccup along the way. Yeah. Yes, there are pockets of violence. Violence is reported in Akwa Ibom. Very unfortunate, very sad. But it's also gratifying that the commissioner has said that it's not going to be a problem at the end of the day. And again, it's going to lead us to the point we've been making, you know, the weather-beating point about the need for politicians not to be necessarily die-hearted about political contestation. Yeah, it's a point that we have made and we'll continue to make it, but it's already becoming tiring. I think what we need to do now is to proceed and probably admonish the law enforcement agents to be much more potent, you know, and to activate the law and probably make some few examples of these political contestants, these political helmsmen who are probably triggering this violence in sections of the country. Because yes, it is possible that they will probably not go to commit this act of violence themselves, but you know, their supporters will have looked at their body language and move on to town. It's not possible to continue like this. And if we do not set the example, if we continue to pretend as if man is rather ruling as against the law, I'm afraid we will not be able to make progress at the end of the day. Examples have to be set so that people can be deterred, okay, in the future. That has to be done as soon as possible. I've had my colleague over there only made a point on the nature of the Nigerian politics. Very correct, very apt point. You know, the political power, okay, public office, you know, is a source of prebendal income in this country. And that's why you see people are very vociferous about public office. There are a couple of things that we can do to stop this. One is to make public offices less attractive. And how do we do this, really? If the state is meant to be more functional at the level of provision of social infrastructures, for social and physical infrastructure, if utilities and facilities are provided for the people, better health facilities, better educational opportunities and all of that, okay, then the populace will begin to think less of the power elite as a source of help. The situation we are witnessing now is a situation where the power elite, including especially the politician, do everything as much as possible. They do everything within their power, legally and illegally, to get power so that they can have access to public wealth. You know, we're not generalizing really. There are still some of them who are speak and span, some of them that we can still isolate as good, but on a major level, on a general note, that is the culture that we are in. So, because the state is failing at the level of the provision of infrastructure, the power elite are forced various, they are determined to grab power so that they can have access to public wealth and come in between the state and the people.